The Cantina Chronicles continue. We're back. We're on Castell, hanging out with Lando and Lobot, drinking some calamari rishkate. We're at Tanneray wine. We've got some Scotch over here. Ben's got, what do you have in your hand over there, Ben?
They just called it the Wild Bantha. I don't really know. It looks like a beer.
Wild Bantha. I need to try that one.
Yeah.
Grab a seat. We're hanging out. We're talking comics this week. This is going to be a fun time. I'm waiting to talk about these issues, and I can't wait to jump into the sort of stories we love. Star Wars main run, Darth Vader, Dr. Aphra. Can't wait, guys. I've been waiting.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I was blown away by this week, man. There's so much stuff. I know you guys have read this like months ago, and I just like flew through it. It was so great 2 weeks ago, reading the Dark Droids main run and D Squad. That really set like the stage for what was going on. Yeah. But they're just such great stories, and it looks like they're getting better too. And
it's true. This is all great. I got to derail us. So at the beginning, towards the end of New Hope, during the run of the Death Star, Biggs is imploring Porkins to eject.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eject. What happens if Porkins, wearing a helmet with no spacesuit, ejects? Doesn't he just die instantly?
You know, there might be some sort of bubble that appears.
Some sort of action, gel that can cover him. A sort of gel.
Yeah, maybe there's a mask he can put on, a breather
very quickly.
You know, like the breathers that they use in the Exogorth. To clean off the Minox.
Totally. And all of the face that's exposed and everything else will be just fine.
Maybe ejecting is the cockpit itself, sort of.
Yes.
Oh, all right. There we go. So then he lands on the Death Star, and then what happens to him 2.5 minutes later?
Kylo Ren just brings him up to see Snoke at that point.
Wrong movie, but okay. Yes.
Right, way wrong movie, but now I like this. Now I want to wait. So you're saying that Porkins lives?
I'm just saying I would just love a scene where someone from the Death Star, Tarkin, if you will, or someone comes down and finds him in the case.
And poor Porkins just sprawled out on the side of the Death Star, like ow, ow,
ow, just sliding across it, waiting for it to explode. Just here.
He slides down a window, like one of their like transparent steel windows. He's just like, ow.
Oh, Porkins.
Mustard stain on his like flight suit. Okay. That was Porkins' corner.
I think it's a certain point of view story that gives you a lot of Porkins' internal thoughts, which is great.
I need, again, as a chubby kid, that was the Star Wars character I probably identified with the most. It was also just like, oh man, they had to call him Porkins.
Anyway, no, that was uncalled for. Lucas,
that just hurts.
That's your problem. You know what? The guy I identify with the most is Lobot.
Oh, Ben trying to get us back on track. There we go.
I wonder why.
It is very Lobot.
Yeah, I'm rock the Lobot head for this one. And actually, I should wear my headphones like this and just sort of like.
Yeah, that is super Lobot.
They don't really stay on.
Got to have some wires dangling out though.
Yeah,
I know. Now we got Shaggy Lobot,
right?
Unshaven.
I think
Lobot.
of it as a dreadlock Lobot.
Oh yeah, totally.
But only
Disco
around the
Lobot
sides.
too at one point.
Disco Lobot. Yeah, so we're gonna get there, and I don't know what order you want to do these in, Adam, but that was obviously the zenith of this experience. Was like, oh my gosh, they have been teasing that.
Pod over, Lobot and Disco.
So to bring everyone kind of up to speed, what we're talking about tonight are the 4 main run comics: Bounty Hunters, Darth Vader, Dr. Aphra, and the Star Wars main run. That the 5 issues of each, so 20 issues total, that take place during the Dark Droids miniseries big event. Really, we take them in any order we want, but I think as we're talking about it, and probably we'll have the most to say, and I think Ben's the most hyped probably to talk about Lando and Lobot.
Okay, sure.
Let's talk. Why don't we talk Star Wars main run? That'd be issues 37 to 41 by Sewell, Muskabov, Rosenberg, Cowles, Segovia, and Berendo.
Yeah.
I tried my best. I apologize to everyone and anyone.
You did it.
You
name names.
Them. Their credits are in.
This story has been teased forever. There was that Lando run, which is really a lot about Lobot. And it was only like 5 or 6 issues. They did this like Lando like mini series, and that was one of my first things, and I adored it. And that's what made me fall in love with Lobot. They like it really still just gave so much depth to Lobot's character in like a really meaningful way. He's like, and they talk about it, he's like the one grounding principle for Lando. He's like, Lobot like confronts him. There's a ton of just human Lobot, which I love. That's like, I mean, that's why I want poor Lobot to be saved, because like I just like his human interactions now. So they had all those flashbacks, and it was just like, there's a great scene where Lando admits that Lobot's the only person he tells the truth to. Otherwise, he is a prolific liar.
Yes. More lies than truths comes out of that man's mouth. Like that's just his. Yeah.
And he's also very influential. And I think there's a great few panels in these comics that highlight Lobot sort of telling Lando that that people follow him and that people will follow him, and he's and Lobot essentially is a follower of Lando. That's his character sort of archetype, and I feel like that's a really beautiful moment, because and then like you guys are saying, it's Lobot's almost like Lando's heart, or at least helps him walk the right path, and I feel like and have sort of moral principles and things that we admire. And I feel like Lobot's part of that. And I think that when you see this sort of struggle in this issue and these few issues where he's in pain and they're being hacked and all the dark droid stuff is happening, and then what happens to him on the ship on Home One or whatever Akbar is. That was just so cool. I was like, this is just so cool. It's really showing off their relationship in a really fun way. And I think Sewell just, so it's so good.
I mean, that's the thing. So if you haven't read these issues, again, we're always going to implore you to read the comics. They're wonderful. They really add to it. But if you haven't read these issues, like 4 out of the 5 of these issues are solely focused on Lando and Lobot. Like there's a couple of moments of our other main characters, but this is like a Lando miniseries that really is, as Ben you kind of alluded to, is almost a follow up in some ways to the Lando miniseries that came out, like you said, years and years ago, and it's much needed. It's so fascinating that, like, you're right, like Lando is the moral compass. He's basically the person who calls Lando on his BS, and the second he's gone, Lando immediately slips back into the rogue, the scoundrel, right? And gets him into a heap of trouble, which is leading to something I'm very excited about in the comics. But we'll talk about that when we get to the end.
Oh, yeah. That should be interesting.
I do like when Lando's like, I have to be me. I was like, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Like, yes, you do.
Yeah. But that's the duality.
It's awesome.
Right. Yeah, he is. I mean, it is really a trinity of like what his personality. Like, he is the scoundrel and the rogue, and I guess that's also the liar part. But it's the duality with he's also a leader of people, of just like Grant was saying, and like that's pretty much him in a nutshell. But I did love there were some duplicate panels from that original Lando series and this one in a flashback, and it was essentially Lobot's last request before Lobot goes dark mentally, in his implants take over. He said it was for Lando to fold his cards and do something good with his power, pretty much. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but that was pretty much it. Yep. And that's just it's so powerful and so cool, and like, and encapsulates what both of those characters are about. But poor Lobot has been like, I guess he's able to like see and think, but not emote or talk or like It's terrifying. That is such a nightmare. If you
think about Lobot, I mean, it's especially disturbing considering what Lobot's name comes from.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a portmanteau of lobotomy, right? Like, it comes from like a lobotomized robot. It's portmanteau of those two words, if you think about it. And so like, they're like, literally Sewell, like, I think looked at that and went, oh, there's an idea. What is a lobotomized robot, right? Like, basically this idea was a lobotomized human, and that's turned into a robot, and that idea of just like trapped in his own brain. It is horrifying. There's also like something like issue 4 of this, I think, when they're in Jabba's palace, is there are scenes that they took straight out of the movie Aliens. Like, there are panels that they illustrated straight out of the movie Aliens,
that was
which I'm like,
terrifying.
I loved it. I'm like, this is wonderful. Like,
this
they've
is
just
awesome. This is like this is some of the best Rancor or like Rancor stuff I've seen in Star Wars.
Yeah. But there's a couple of panels I almost wanted to go back, rewatch Aliens, and screen grab and put them back and forth, because I swear the artist that I swear Muskova looked at like Aliens and just like did it and just subbed out droids for Aliens and these characters for like the crew of whatever, but like the Space Marines. Anyway, but like I it is terrifying, and the other thing I wanted to ask about, and I don't know when a good time is to do it, so I'll just do it now. It sounds like we are actually going to get our Lando show, right? Like, from all intents and purposes, it seems like Donald Glover's talking about it. We know he is in charge of it. Like, it seems like it's moving forward. It seems like a no-brainer. You don't want to like give up on the Donald Glover like train, right? Like, they don't want to give up on having this person attached.
Well, Atlanta's like one of the best shows in the last 10 years.
One of the best characters. It's going to be so good. And so. The other side of this is Lobot is a character who gets 5 minutes of screen time, right? But like has been so well developed in the comics. Like, do we have to get Lobot in the show? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is it?
I think you do.
Yeah.
And again, like back to the implants and back to like our discussion of just what's going on with him in a cerebral way. It's so cool when the medical assistant droid, the 21B, highlights what those implants are all about and how he's just like going through all these different military strategies, computing, every different tactical route, and sort of there's no space for anything else. I would love to see that on screen. Like, I would just love to see a character introduced in a Lando show that is like this, I don't know, this incredible sort of number cruncher, sort of sidekick.
That's like moral compass at the same time, like a weird,
it's like so weird. Cool. Like, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I love it if they did Lobot. But at the same time, I would love a solo Lando. Like, really has many companions, has lots of adventures. I think can carry his own show as a character.
We could actually have them, because it depends what period Donald Glover wants to do and if he's going to act in it or not.
I think. He's got.
Assume.
Yeah, I would assume.
I would guess.
Then, maybe you get him meeting Lando or Lobot for the first time. Like that could be really cool. And then they start off on their adventures or whatever.
Yeah. I think Donald Glover also seems like a person to be also equally mystified by this character.
Right.
Like just seeing Lobot be like, that's freaking. I wouldn't mind. I gotta do something with that.
The Andor treatment, where it's sort of Lando's solo adventures for that first season, and then the second season maybe it's like Lobot, meeting.
As I was saying it, I was like, no, this really.
Well, what's a second season character to me?
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just he just feels like that to me.
I'd say we're gonna get K2SO right in the second season of Andor. Like, I'm okay with this. And I hate to say like you have to. I'm not a fan of saying I will never say you have to, that you must do this. It wouldn't work if you did this, because again, Obi-Wan Kenobi is always the show that proves me that I'm like that shut my mouth, because I was just like, when they announced it, I'm like, no, don't want to see this. They should never do this. Should never meet again. And then I'm like, no, this is canon and very important to Obi-Wan's growth. So I will always shut my mouth. But like, it seems like a missed opportunity if you're not having the heart of these two characters meet on live action. That's just my thought. Yeah.
I see what you mean there. There's another character here that I love. I think he just goes by the Talkie. He's the ancient droid, thousands of years old. So we met him earlier too, and that was like the most heart-wrenching moment for me, where he brought Lobot back to consciousness for like a minute, and then like turned him back off again, and then got like thrown out an airlock or something. So, but it turns out he's a very funny droid. He's like. For an ancient droid, he has like a lot of personality. Like, it's weird how droids went in retrograde to like C-3PO after like when you had this one. Like, maybe he had too much personality or something.
So I think what they're going for here is in canon, they talk about like R2-D2 having too much personality, and the reason why he's so weird is because he hasn't had a memory wipe, right? Like, the longer they go, and the Talkies has gone thousands of years without a memory wipe, so I think he's just become this sentient weirdo.
That makes a lot of sense. That is so.
I think Hu Yang reflects that sort of idea as well.
He's
very humoristic. Sort of.
Oh, I love that.
I miss Hu Yang.
I miss Hu Yang. Yeah. Wait, where is Hu Yang? Is Hu Yang on Peridia?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
All
on
right.
pretty with the gang. So we're gonna
So
get more.
Hu
We're
Yang's
gonna get more
safe.
David Tennant
For now.
Yeah.
That's great. What an
It
ensemble out
seems
there.
in your anger. No, he's safe.
But yeah, so the talking, there was one line that I just loved, and he was like talking about the pickle that Lando is in, because if he needs the Alliance's help and all that. But he was just like, he's like, yeah, so you can't go back and see them, but you can't get rid of me, and I won't help you unless you do the thing. He's like, and then he's like, and the only people strong enough to beat back all the people that have Lobot are, say it with me, the Alliance. And I just loved that. And he's like, and then he goes, you didn't say it.
So good.
You didn't say it with me. Yeah, it's just like it is a great character, and I love that. Like he gets a weird, like he disappears for like an issue and a half. And you forget about it. I was like, oh, he was just shoved in a locker.
He turned him off
in the Millennium Falcon.
Turned him up and shoved him in a locker. Like, shut up, nerd.
It happened.
But I will say, like, it's one of those things where it's so hard to where I stand with Lando on this, because it's a weird whole backstory. But he sold the talkie to Jabba because he owed Jabba to kind of get himself like Jabba off his trail. But this talkie is very important to the Rebel Alliance and put the Rebel Alliance in the bind. And in the end, like he did like fully just come clean in order to save Lobot. So there is this moment of just like, he admitted to he tried to lie his way out of it. And when it came down to, do I keep lying and save my own butt, or do I save my own friend? Yeah. He saved his old friend, right? He saved his friend at the point of putting himself possibly in the the literal firing squad of the rebels, right? Like he is now going on trial. The sentence is death. Also weird that there's, I don't know, every time someone's like the rebels like, we have a death penalty. I'm like, you have the death penalty? All right.
This is still weird. Mon Mothma's rebels. They were a dark force.
I guess that's true. They are. I mean, I guess that's like Saw Gerrera's like, I will join the rebels, but I insist on a death penalty.
Right. Yeah.
There's lately, there's now, Adam, or whatever class. The rebels are dead serious.
That's true. That's true. I guess it's true. If I'm thinking about Andor, you're right, and I'm thinking about
they're like holding a
Rogue One. It does not surprise
rebellion me. Now. It's like it's not your grandfather's rebellion, Yeah.
Actually, it is my grandfather's rebellion, because my grandfather's rebellion would definitely have the death penalty.
Yeah. No, right. I guess.
Sorry, no.
I would just say this is just a modern upgrade in terms of grit and darkness, in terms of rebellions.
Yeah, I love that scene at the end where there's sort of, there's the standoff and blasters are pulled. And then we got Luke as like the voice of reason, who's just like, how about you just fix Lobot because it's the right thing to do, and you put your blasters away and we all just like chill out, which is like what I was thinking. They're like, no.
No, I love when Farm Boy Luke comes out occasionally. We're just like Leia's just like, no, we've got this. That's not how the real world works. Like no one's gonna just stop being in their own trenches, unfortunately. But strong ass Leia in these series, as much as she's lied to. I love like the guilt of like, I decided I do trust you, Lando, and then like to have that trust instantly betrayed, and then it just like pulls a blaster on him. No thinking about Lando, just like no. All right, now can I get to a complaint or issue I have with these issues?
Bring out the notes.
Is it timeline related?
No, but I'm fascinated about the timeline relation. It might be related to what I'm saying. This plus we will get to Bounty Hunters. The Bounty Hunters finale issue just dropped, so maybe we can cover that in a couple of weeks. Might be worth doing that out of order.
One more issue?
It's one issue. It's a giant side issue, but it is the end of Bounty Hunters.
Like issue 42?
Issue 42 is the last issue. It's the last one.
Yeah, Valance.
So I'm gonna say this.
Like,
all right, that should be its own show
or something. Like,
I honestly think it can be its own show where we do kind of a Bounty Hunters Valance retrospective. I'm gonna give it this will be a minor spoiler, but I am like weirded out how many times people have been in Jabba's palace between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Timeline. It's weird that he's been there and like seen all those things already.
Yes, and everyone's just like, we can't, like every time I read it, it's like, we can't get Han now because it can't happen now because it happens in the movie that comes after this. Like it feels very it forced.
They're like, we'll never do it in time. He could be blind, and it's like, okay, all right, just get out of there. Get out of there, kids.
Or just throw him over your shoulder and run out. Anyway,
it just feels a little sandboxy in terms of like you using the action figures and putting them in Jabba's palace instead of like it just using any other random desert planet and doing a whole new palace.
Which again, the comics rarely feel like that. They do wedge themselves between this run is wedging itself between Empire and Return. And rarely, lots of times I'm like, it's weird to think that these things happen between these two movies, but they don't feel as boxed in. As opposed to like Lando just looking at Han, hanging on the wall in Carbonite, with nothing happening and being like, can't get him now.
And it's only jarring because the writing is so good. It's not like a pulp thing where you're like, oh, these are just random cardboard cutouts of the superheroes I love just running around in a weird set piece that I know already.
Yeah.
It's like, I love the writing. Like it's so good. So that's why I think Adam and I are just a little bit more, that's sort of, I don't know, disrupted by that.
Yeah. I wasn't disrupted by it at all. I was just along for the ride.
Ben, that means nothing. So
I thought it was awesome.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. But I think, Grant, that's a really good point. It's like, I thank you for putting it that way because I'm like, I think you're absolutely right. That's why it jumped out to me because so rarely do things jump out at me, especially with Sewell. That and it's not. I mean, what can you do?
It's not really an issue. It's a non-issue.
I mean, it's
really just like a non-complaint.
Who's Lando gonna save?
Saying, oh, I noticed that like he's been here multiple times and has already scoped out the joint, and I'm like. Yeah. Really, like I feel like when he's in guard duty in Return of the Jedi, it feels like he got in and he's infiltrated, and it feels like,
that's true.
It feels like that happened just around that point of the starting point of the movie, rather than he's been there before, left, come back.
And I guess you could argue, right, because he does in this issue tell Leia and Luke, Han's and Carbonite hasn't hung up, whatever, and you think about the movie. Neither of them react to the fact that Han is just sitting there as like as a trophy, right? So I guess you can kind of back your way into it, going, okay, it makes sense.
Right. Let me just explain this to y'all real quick. Okay, so
please,
who knows more about carbonite freezing than Lando? No one. It's his carbonite freezer that froze Han, right?
Oh, I love this conversation.
So he knows. Yeah, so he knows how long it's going to take him out of it. Secondly, who does Lobot save first, Han or who does Lando save first, Lobot or Han?
It's Lando. Lobot, he does talk about in the comic how much he's like, we don't have love lost between us. Like they do not, like Han and Lando are not close friends.
Lando's like, oh, that's a bummer, buddy. Anyways, I gotta go save my friend. So I haven't seen this alleged second time he goes in and out in Bounty Hunters or whatever, but
it's not Lando doesn't go in and out. That would drive me nuts. It's someone else looks directly at the thing. It's just like, I've done my job and I'm leaving now, and I'm like, just take him. Sorry.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, but anyways, that was the simple mental gymnastics I had to do to get around that.
It doesn't the work. It feels like I could see them showing their work at times, right? Does that make sense? Like it's not I get it. Like I get it.
I bet you I could go back and read the issue and be like, oh, this is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I think I'm not as fresh as you are, Ben, on reading this issue, so I'm just...
Yeah.
I am. I read it today.
You read it today, okay.
And I bumped up against it again. But I will say, I will take that if it provides me with the horrors of... Two things. Of the horrors of the droids coming after them in Jabba's palace, because that's amazingly done. Again, reminds me that Sewell is so good at writing Star Wars horror. Like, give him just a horror thing to do. Like straight up horror. And the little amazing Boba Fett moment of just like Boba Fett's like is like, get the hell out of here.
Wait, and Lando's like, if Boba's worried about this, we gotta go.
We gotta go. Yeah. Which again, maybe that again helps support Ben's argument, right?
Sewell is, he's an ace, man.
He really is.
If I had to pick one person to write Star Wars for the rest of time, it might be him. But it's just so on fucking point. Rad. I did have one question for you, and I'm sure it was intentional. Did you notice spoiler alert, and the best part of all these comics for me was Lobot finally does get fixed. at the peril of Lando. Lando's going to face a tribunal, presumably in the next issue. But when Lobot's talking to Lando,
nope. Spoiler: we have an inter story before the trial of Lando. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, good.
Sorry,
even the issue's called the trial of Lando Calrissian, right?
Well, welcome to comics. They decided they needed to tell a two-issue story before that.
All right. Well, anywho,
sorry.
No, that's fine. Did you notice that Lobot was communicating to Lando through the holochess board?
No, wait, what?
So the bubble,
I buy it.
The bubble was like, it had like a lightning bolt, so it was like meant to indicate that it was like a digital voice, but it was pointing to the like part of the holochess board right in front of Lando, not Lobot's mouth.
Interesting.
Yeah,
very cool.
So I don't know what that's about.
I'll have to look at that issue again.
And I'm surprised you haven't, if you've read ahead, maybe Lobot doesn't say anything, which is in character, but.
The next issue has nothing to do with Lando and Lobot. Yeah. It's all back to Luke. It's back to Luke. You're gonna love it. I'm actually enjoying it. It's back to Luke figuring out how to cleanse the crystal again.
Cool. Oh,
right.
Yeah. So it's a good sidebar.
Right. Yeah. No, I saw the cover. It's like the Sith crystal or whatever.
It's the thing that comics drive me nuts, where it's just like the writers clearly have an arc, and then the giant conglomerate comes and be like, no, you have to tell this massive overarching story, and so it's so disrupted that it's just like Luke's basically like, oh yeah, I forgot. I need to go cleanse that lightsaber. I guess I'll go do that now. And I'm like, oh my.
Well, those droids were weird, right?
Weird. It's weird. Let's go back, and we left, and we'll go right back and talk to the people again.
Crazy droids. They're gonna go.
Yeah. Remember when we all blacked out simultaneously? Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, but it's good. It just
wait. Did they ever do a thing where Luke's hand is like attacking himself? Because like that was a mistake.
Oh my god! Just Evil Dead 2, just him like grabbing himself and doing backflips. Like,
that would be pretty.
That's all I gotta say.
Now I'm gonna, before I go to bed, I will 100% watch this scene from Evil Dead 2 when he fights his hand. It's the best thing ever. If you've never seen that, just watch it.
So good. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Maybe I'm misremembering, or you're painting such a vivid image, but I feel like that did happen in the Dark Droids main run, like where they do a lot of like one panels of everybody, sort of like what they're going through and stuff.
I think it does show a panel of his hand at some point.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Not show
I buy
robotic hand.
Yeah, it's somewhere around the greatest scene I've ever seen, which is Darth Vader getting attacked when he's like in his like in his bacta tank.
Oh my god!
I was expecting to see that again in Darth Vader.
I lied to you because I told you it happened to Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I lied to you, Ben.
I was waiting for that.
I told you that happened because it was so vividly done in Dark Droids. I did the same thing. It's this weird, like, it was so vivid that I remember it being longer in a comic, and it's not. It's not in it. I apologize. It's not in Darth Vader at all.
Well, thank you.
And I apologize to our listeners. I apologize to our listeners as well.
You should, because the whole time I'm like, is now when they go back to Vader's castle?
I am a flawed human being.
It's okay.
I am trying.
No, I love the story we got, so it was great.
I accept my responsibilities as actors, but I do not accept any legal responsibilities, nor will I see anyone in a court of law.
Okay,
you hear that? That's what an apology.
Yes,
it's
support the
one
show,
of the best.
Cantina Chronicles.
It is
5
the greatest.
Stars. If you
5-star apology.
The best apology.
Yes, that was a good enough imitation. We can jog on.
Moving on. What do we want to talk about? We got Bounty Hunters, Darth Vader, Aphra. Throw it out there.
They're also
Aphra?
Aphra?
Let's do Aphra.
Yeah.
Did you get overruled?
Yeah, sorry. What did you want to do?
No, I absolutely love Aphra. And Domina Tag and the Tag family are like my favorite new characters or new additions to the Star Wars sort of lore and mythos. I just love just how much Tag stuff we get.
So much Tag.
So much Tag. Yeah.
They
it's really dirty.
Yeah. I loved how they advanced Domina's character in this. Like she's kind of been mustache twirling villain for a while, just like big baddie, whatever. And we have gotten some of her, the inner family political battles. But this,
but not like flashbacks like this. Really, there's
it's very true.
Flashback stuff in this.
I will also say, because we're talking Domina Tag, and it happens in the first issue, we're talking about Dr. Aphra is the horniest Star Wars comic, and I am here for it. I'm just saying, like, I am like, give us, like, we talk about the fact that we don't get like romance or sex much in Star Wars. That's true. as long as you're not reading Dr. Aphra.
Yeah, right.
Everyone's hooking up with everyone in this comic.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Aphra's like 50%, Indiana Jones and 50% 007, like just sort of like falling into everyone's head. Like
100%. Yeah. Because that's such a great thing because that's such a great analogy because like, Bond will sleep with anyone, whether it's the good person. Well, it's always female.
Yeah.
We'll change that at some point.
Same thing with Aphra. It's always
Bond,
female.
We'll be back in.
Yeah.
But it's very true. But always just, it doesn't matter if it's part of the bad guys or the good guys. It's part of the.
If you're on a mission with Aphra, you're gonna have a good time.
You're gonna bed down.
Yeah, I love that she hit like a college bar on the way to like a super secret mission to like drink her like troubles away.
Yeah,
drink and F her troubles away.
Yeah, and this connects to the Staros miniseries because this is when she gives the fake when she tells that she uses the name Staros. Yeah.
Oh, this is when she uses Staros on the okay.
I love a connection. I love a little doesn't matter, but it is a little.
I think their relationship is I think transforming into something of great importance to like all of it basically. And I'm like, wow, I'm so excited I'm also hoping Staros gets her main run. I hope that continues in another 5 issues because that was so good.
It was really good.
I just want like both. I want the angle from both of them, and so like I just really like I'm really hopeful in seeing more.
That's the other thing, and not to philosophize or I don't want to keep hitting on this, but like I love the fact that so much of this is about like Aphra's relationship with Staros, Aphra's relationship with Magna Tolvin. And like, but the fact that there's sex in this doesn't take away from the fact that there's also like connection and love. Like it like Alyssa Wong, who's writing this, is avoiding a morality tale, right? Of like sex equals bad, sex equals death in terms of like what we see in like horror movies. And so I'm just saying, like, I appreciate this. Like, you can trust your reader, right? Like we can separate these things a little bit.
Actually, I mean, I had a really interesting read on that. So, I mean, for Grogu, Domina Tag essentially in the first panel just drags Aphra into her bedroom with an amazing bed, by the way. You could land up, like a Lambda class shuttle
TIE fighter
in there, and just smashes, Aphra, and she's down, but I feel like, but no, I'm getting there.
Going in the show notes, verbatim,
but then like I really kind of felt like that little like detour to that college bar on it's Zulos. It had a great name. I actually translated it, and
you got it.
Zolzhaus.
Yes, it's just like German like electro punk. It's some sort of.
Galater 3. Zolhas Galater 3.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll have to add that to my
my read on her like drinking herself stupid there was to get over essentially getting raped by her boss.
Yes. Good call. Ben, the second you started talking about that, like I did not put that together, but like the second you said like that happened and she went to a bar, I'm like, oh no. Yeah, it's the power play, right? It's the use of like, it's inappropriate. Well
but
called.
So it was disturbing.
100%.
And, I mean, awesome because it was disturbing and accurate. I was like, oh wow, they're just doing that. And just lucky.
I was not in that. I was not thinking that, but now that you say that, that's I think you pretty much nailed it. That's tough stuff.
Yeah. Or she just hates herself because she went along with it or something.
No.
Well,
oh boy. I'm looking at the panels here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
she's drinking two glasses of booze at once.
That's clear. What you're saying is very clear to me, and that's
I know.
See that now
Ben,
say that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Aphra, like what her character is in terms of like Star Wars, and like to me, it's like she sometimes is in too deep, like
always.
That's just like, but like she's this genius who can get in too deep, and I don't mean in too deep in terms of like you're doing a mission or you're on the trail of something and you're basically gonna die or something perilous. It's more of like you're in too deep, like when she gets thrown into space and like she's just in like a half second she's from a pressurized cabin to space. Like there are just moments where I just feel like she's struggling against the void, and so that's where all the love I think blossoms from, and all these relationships blossom from. It's like I'm struggling against the void of the pain and the terror that's out there in the galaxy, and I want to live in the moment and this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also disturbing dynamics like what you just said, Ben, with the Domina tag. I wasn't even thinking that.
No,
I thought there was a
mutual
mutual attraction.
So did I, and maybe it was my salacious mind, but I'm looking at the panels now, and I think Ben called it because I'm looking at like Afra's being her confrontational, like jokey self, which would come off somewhat flirtatious, maybe, but like literally you have them in the bedroom and they're talking, and Dominatag pushes her on the bed. Afra says oof. Dominatag talks, forcefully kisses her, like her eyes are open. She says, that's it. Can work with that, she says. Then it cuts to the next day, and it's the next morning, and like she is when she's talking to Dominatag, she's really holding the bed sheets against herself in a way that's like very upsetting, in a way that like I think you could read it either way, but I think Ben's reading is just like when you really look at the panels and look at what the art is and what the lines are, you're just like, ooh, I feel gross as well. And then again, Ben, your point of like the next day of going to the bar and drinking yourself stupid and then trying to hook up with someone else, right? Just almost trying to like rewrite the history. Anyway, sorry, not to like too delve deep on it because we don't have to. But I think your reading is 100% right.
And
it's so good. Alyssa Wong's so good. By the way, random aside, Alyssa Wong on the Marvel Infinity comics, which are the comics that you only get on Unlimited, is writing Alligator Loki right now.
That looked really cool. Awesome, actually.
They're super fun, like standalone 2-minute reads, and like her writing on that's really funny. And again, also we'll say, rests heavily on not a lot of dialogue, a lot of what's happening in the art. So she's really good at subtext.
Right on. I mean, this one, I mean, I think we hit on like the major points of it. There's a lot of things happened. A
lot of relationship focus.
Yeah, I mean, she was sent on an info reconnaissance mission essentially to figure out what's happening. I liked the side of Domina that was like child prodigy programmer, like engineer, and like then grew into a leader as well. And then I love the idea, like it just makes of course the tags were in a bidding war to like create weapons for the Clone Wars and like would pit against both sides. So I just thought that was a fun bit of lore tie in there that they made their own battle droids that weren't used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love the artwork looked like very similar to like what that era droid would look like. It didn't look like a B-1 battle droid, but it looked like something that would be similar to that era of battle droid. Yeah, it was
kind of a combination of like the Droideka destroyers and the B-1 battle droid, because they could roll, but they were turned into a ball. Also, like the design, if you look at the tag ships, they have that sort of Star Trek Enterprise front end, and that matches the heads on the droids.
It turned to look like a droid gunship, like from the Separatist droid gunship, the sort of the head of the droids.
Yes, exactly.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean. So they do that. Just Lucky, poor Just Lucky. He goes back to Cano Bite. He finally's had enough of it. Oh, and then ultimately she has to go save Magna Tolvin, right? Who is taken over. And then pulls in Sana and does that. I love Magna Tolvin. She's like my new favorite comics character. Big fan. I just think there's so much you could do with her. Like she's such a cool character. I'd love to see her in live action. But yeah, they really played up her hero aspect. She's a rising star in the rebellion. Like,
yeah, to the point where she gets her name chanted as she exits.
That's a lot.
Yeah, which I love the fact that she's also just like, gotta stop. She's not at all boistered by it, right? She's like, nope, don't like this. This is uncomfortable.
It makes it hit all the much harder when she gets her whole squad killed.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, there's some really upsetting artwork in a good way in that scene where there's a part where I'm like, I think you just cut away from a guy getting his face ripped off by a droid, but I will like
Anyways, next panel.
Next panel. But we end up with just like the whole series ends up with like basically all of this, but we get Afra on her own.
Yeah.
right? Like we're gonna get some solo Afra stories, which I like. I like building. We talked about it, right? Building the ensemble is part of a Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Part of the lore, part of the pillars. But I at times I enjoy my Afra alone against the galaxy. So we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like she brings them all together and then shuns them all away and then brings them all together and all that. But I think her story is developing incrementally. Like she is changing as a character, and I think you're right. We could see some real love connection and throwing some roots down with Sana.
Yeah. This one feels different where she pushed them all away to save them, to protect them, as opposed to like to protect herself, right? Which seems like this is a good reason to leave everyone behind. Is like, I'm probably going to not come back from this and everyone else would die with me if I brought you with me.
I think Aphra needs to survive into the New Republic era, just to run her own science division or archaeology division of New Republic. You know what I mean? Like, she's only just running around the galaxy like a rogue because the Empire's in charge, and she doesn't want to be part of that, science division, or that's terrible. Like it's the worst, option. Yet probably the highest, or most prestigious option, or whatever. So
you have to see her story ending on the side of the Angels, right? Or the Rebels. I mean, in terms of the Angels, but I feel like the part of the storytelling is just like Lando's an amazing character, but somewhat pigeonholed in that like he's like we see his turn at the end of Empire Strikes Back into Return of the Jedi. There's not a lot of like length of storytelling and of like watching Lando turn from a rogue to a rebel, right? Like there's just not enough time there, which is fine. I mean, that's the movies. There's nothing wrong with that. But now I think that creating a character out of whole cloth, there's this idea of just like, we can tell this person's redemption over a longer period of time, which I'm all here for. So I agree. Like I always picture her, like Dr. Jones, right? I picture her like Indiana Jones. Like she's teaching and she's good, but she's crawling out that window to get onto the next adventure.
I would love that. Yeah.
Right?
That would be so fun. I mean, oh gosh. Now I'm thinking, you've got my wheels turning. I'm like, that could be the thing that happens in Mandalorian season 4. Like they need an archaeologist for something, and and that sure enough, turns out she's working for the for the New Republic. That would be great, because that'd be a great era. Mm-hmm. That would be a sanitized enough Dr. Aphra to like appease fans, but also like be popular like amongst normies. Sorry, that was really condescending. Yeah. But like casual fans and for Disney Plus or whatever. She could still have this sort of wicked streak through her and do some funny things. But she wouldn't just be like chaotic, sort of evil like she was early.
I constantly tell my wife, like, so I have a Dr. Aphra Black Series back here, there somewhere, and like so my wife will come in and be like, "Who's that?" Occasionally, like, she knows most of these, but some of these are like from like Dr. Aphra. She's like, "Who's that?" Like, I will say to her, like, "That's your favorite character that you haven't met yet."
Carly would love her.
That's always how I introduce Dr. Aphra to Carly, and I'm like, that you're missing an opportunity. Especially with right now, we're currently in a moment of like Star Wars is for everyone. I don't know if you've been kind of paying attention to that whole hashtag that's been happening because of dummies on the internet trolls trying to claim that trolls. It's a whole thing. Yeah. It's a whole thing. I'm so glad you're not aware of it.
Trolls out of my life
in a way, but it is. But it's led to a wonderful campaign of like Star Wars is for everyone, which is like I'm saying this because it should be. It's like duh. Right, that should be the response to that, but dummies still don't get it. So again, if you're going to continue that, which I think has been a wonderful thing of like modern Star Wars, is like you're missing. There's a free opportunity for you to create a character that envelops so many groups of people and brings so many people into Star Wars, right? Like I'm not going to list off the way she's diverse because that seems like it reduces that character. But that character is so diverse. We'll bring in so many different people. And also myself as a white cisgendered male, I'm all here for Dr. Aphra series. Like it seems like a no-brainer to bring this character into live action.
I was trying to cast her in my mind, and we've done the like casting for her before, but I just saw
Ali Wong.
Okay. Yeah, I
Sorry,
just
go ahead.
saw
What were you gonna say?
It's good casting.
I just saw The Warrior, which they finally canceled after I think 4 seasons, and it's actually fantastic.
I saw it pop up.
I didn't expect much. I was expecting sort of corny kung fu, and I love kung fu, but sometimes it's just super corny. No, it's actually based on some writings by Bruce Lee. I guess he wrote sort of the basis of the story, and the acting is fantastic. Like, I want to pretty much everyone in the cast. There are 10 actors in there that were fantastic that could seamlessly slide into Star Wars, and most of them were Chinese. And that there's a couple of Irish characters or whatever. But the bulk of the cast, and I can think of 3 female actors from that show that would be that are snarky and funny and could do Chelly Afra.
Perfect. Yep.
Justice.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Yeah. I've seen Jessica Henwick rumors or fan casting.
Right. I remember that.
And she, she's obviously in Glass Onion and Matrix.
Yep. I can see that.
What was the Resurrections, most recent one?
Yes, Matrix Resurrections. What a confusing naming. I thought
I thought Revolutions was the most recent one, but it's Resurrections. Revolutions
it's Resurrection. It's like how I know we talk about how confusing the Thrawn, the naming archetype for Thrawn and for the High Republic, but boy, I got those down more than I got the Matrix movies.
Yeah.
Reloaded, Resurrection. No, Reloaded, Revolutions, Resurrection.
Yeah. Yes.
What's the next movie called? Recycled?
Repeated.
Rebirth. Reborn. Renaissance.
Rebirth, Reborn.
I don't know.
Renaissance. No, 100%. 100% going to be Matrix Renaissance. Sorry.
But that's a great segue to the comics, actually. And speaking of Thrawn and Thrawn Alliances and how confusing that naming scheme is, I think they're adapting Thrawn Alliances to the comics, which is really cool because those are kind of just kind of I don't know, obscure sort of new canon books that you wouldn't think would be priority to adapt, yet they're being adapted. It's so juicy because this is the one with I think the Anakin Thrawn story.
Vader,
yeah,
I think. Yeah. I think it goes both. It goes between both times.
There's a lot of great visuals in that first book too. So I will probably collect the singles for this run.
They're really good. I think this is the third. This is the third Thrawn novel that they're adapting in comics. Yeah. I think they've done it before, which is wild. Think about it, because they don't normally do that for any of the novels. They do it for the movies and TV shows. But
I think Jody Houser wrote the Thrawn novel, the adaptation for that. It's really
every time Jody Houser's name is named, I just have to say, she is a powerhouse who I don't think is written on any main run Star Wars comics, but they bring her in for miniseries and stuff, and she is so good. And
essentially,
they need to nail her down.
What's happening in the main run stories right now are sort of working around what Jody Houser did in the sort of original trilogy era, or the Age of Rebellion era sort of comics that she wrote, which. You have Leia, getting the Bosch Leia suit. You have all these huge moments that I think Jody Houser created essentially, and they're awesome. And there's some of the biggest moments that I think characters could actually go through between films. And I just love how Sewell is working. I love that Charles Sewell is basically working with everything that Star Wars has ever put out, and sort of doing a handshake with it and sort of making it better, and basically providing some support beams to maybe concepts and character motivations and actual results and plot points that we know about, and sort of enhancing all that stuff. I just think that really good stuff.
I'm going to jump in for a second. We have a new person on chat right now, Mini Eric, who has been very complimentary of what we're doing, Eric. But he asked. Guy in the top right with the Boba Fett helmet. That would be Grant. Yeah. That's you, Grant. I'm just gonna ask. He just had a question. What's your favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, I love this question. Actually,
totally.
This is a great. Wow. Is this for me? Really, specifically?
Yeah, it's for you.
I do know the answer now, so don't lie.
It's pretty. I have a pretty basic sort of primal answer.
Don't lie.
And then I have the answer that I would probably, if I was doing impression management and I wanted to, I wanted to affect how people think of me, I would choose this. But primarily, it's Darth Vader. I think just James Earl Jones and what he brought to Star Wars is unique and one of a kind, and sort of makes the original trilogy what it is for everybody who's experienced it. And I feel like, James Earl Jones is the power and the heart of sort of Star Wars, in that you get so many great idols of the light side, but it's only in Vader that you really understand the duality of it all. And I think that Vader to me is just like, I don't know. I just think we need a new Vader sooner or later, because I don't know. It's just so cool to have a big, masked phantom with a sort of voice that is just
shrouded in mystery.
There's something really special about that. And I think that's what's Jungian. That's what evokes the dream and sort of the mythic journey in a lot of ways for the hero. And so I really love Darth Vader in terms of favorite character. But I like Obi-Wan and Yoda like Ben and Adam, so I'm there too. But well, you guys got to go next. I can't just be the only one here.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were to say. That's the perfect answer, though. I mean, I think I was Darth Vader for like 7 Halloweens in a year, like growing up. I just like loved it. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, Obi-Wan's just my like moral compass. I always like, what would Obi-Wan do? And I like his sort of gallantry and his wife. I don't know. I'm just drawn to old Obi-Wan. I've always loved him. Yeah, old Obi-Wan, young Obi-Wan, whatever. Like, I just like, I don't know. I like his vibe.
Yeah, no, I totally am there with you, and that's unfortunate. This is where we sometimes get a little boring. Yeah. Because it's funny. I don't know if I'm talking about it. It's Obi-Wan for me as well. Like it really is. Like similarly, I mean, I have a full Obi-Wan collection. Here, I have my full Obi-Wan collection here. Like for that reason, like I like just this old dude showed up in the desert, and me as like a 6-year-old was like, I want to hear everything this person has to say to me, and then to see like Ewan McGregor do it and be like, I think that's part of it, is just watching Ewan McGregor do it to a way that just feels seamless. There's no way this guy goals. Yes. Yeah. That's the thing, is like there's no way Ewan McGregor like grows up to be Alex Guinness, but like I don't question it when I watch him. By the way, Mini Eric has your back, Grant. Cool. He was very happy with that.
That's tough for me to just throw out on the internet and have a bunch of people be like, "Yeah, Darth Vader's the best," because the optics on that are dangerous as hell. It can be rough, I stand by sort of my truth.
And he said like the writing for that character is unreal. And the other thing that he mentioned, which I never really thought about, is that like the fact that he spent 22 years in the light and 22 years in the dark is really interesting.
Yeah, for me, it's more like the backstory of Darth Vader. Like it's just more of the origins of Darth Vader, first seeing him on screen, all that sort of stuff. That's the sort of stuff I romanticize. The prequels are great. I love all the idea of Anakin, but I like the idea of Anakin more than seeing Anakin Skywalker. I think the idea is in the original trilogy, and it's so cool when it's highly mysterious that that backstory is a knight. To me, that's just fascinating, and I just really think George just hit it out of the park with that dynamic. The idea is there in the film, so I just feel like it's when you extrapolate on that and you expand it in the prequels, it's going to have a lot of fans be sort of upset that you upturn that rock. I don't know. That's just, for me, I don't really like.
You like the mystery. You like to not know some things.
I like Boba Fett as being just this masked marauder, in the background. That's cool to me. Yeah. So, I think Darth Vader's great. But yeah, Anakin. That I do like the duality of Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. Yeah. Very cool stuff. It was just always just the Phantom in shrouded in darkness was just with the voice James Earl Jones I don't know. Yeah. It's chills. You know what I mean? Just pure.
That and his theme song slapped. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Imperial March all the time. You're just like, oh, it's on.
I wasn't huge on Imperial March. It was more of just the dialogue moments, the quiet moments with Vader. Whenever it was just a dialogue moment or just like a really character to character moment with Darth Vader, I was like, oh, this is some of the best stuff I've ever seen. Yeah. Even when he's just like about to choke someone or whatever, it's just terrifying. It's great.
Right on, man. Well, speaking of Darth Vader, should we pivot to the Darth Vader comic?
That's good
segue. Well done. All right, yeah, so we're gonna do Darth Vader 37 to 41 by Pack, Enienko, Blay, Karimanga, Yo, and Farahando Jr. Or you, not Yo. Yeah. So yeah, we got a lot. This is another one where I feel like they tied it in as much as possible to Dark Droids, but there's a lot of other stuff going on in this run of Darth Vader. It's basically him coming back to the dark side in a lot of ways.
Well, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I guess he's really embracing his dark side, but
it's like a referendum on Yoda. Yoda dialogue is just getting parsed apart and just, I don't know, sort of nailed to the wall, and then they're just basically trying to come up with counterpoints to almost everything Yoda said in the original trilogy. But in this one, it's about, hate leading to suffering, and Vader deciding that no, hate leads to power, and sort of being empowered by his hatred. And that's like a big running theme from the get-go,
right,
in the Vader issues we read.
That's part of the Sith creed, right? Like there's like the Jedi sort of mantra, but there's a Sith mantra that's the opposite, like the inverse. And I think,
do they use any of the same words though? Because
yes, I think they do. Okay. I think they use like fear, hate, whatever, but it makes you stronger, whatever. Yeah, Sith code. Here we are.
Yep.
Through passion I gain strength. Through strength I gain power. Through power I gain victory. Through victory my chains are. Nope, I was wrong about everything. Okay,
but there's no hate in there, right?
No, there's not.
There's no hate, which is weird because I feel like they would just like take the inverse of everything, right?
I really thought that's what they did.
But fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate leads to suffering. Like that isn't the Jedi code either. That's just, I'm just talking about Yoda dialogue. Like you'd say,
right? Yeah. Well, there was some sort of like coaching by that droid that was a droid for a Jedi, and I couldn't tell you who that Jedi was right now, but he was saying like you need to like actually to like solve this problem, you need to embrace your Jedi teachings. So maybe that's why he hybrid
that had a Jedi master basically.
Yes.
Was with a Jedi master, with a Jedi Knight.
And I don't know which one it was, but it looks a lot like the training droid from The Force Unleashed. And he was a training droid.
He has a giant red sort of
eye on the front of his
eye in the center.
Yeah.
He's cool. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And almost trying to like dive deep into the Force with Vader, and it really sort of is reverent about the Force and about the Jedi, and I thought that was really cool as a sort of juxtaposition. Yeah.
And I love where he's just like, no, you have to learn to like use the Force again, and he's like, no, I'm just gonna go ham on all these droids for another hour.
Yeah, just gonna get it out.
I'm just gonna like just kill them all.
But that droid was very cool.
Yeah, I mean, but we're also at a point in this story that like we've gotten in the past the Emperor testing Vader.
Yeah. And
now they are at the point where like they're actively trying to kill each other.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Right. And again, it's all for this, but like there's a point where like Vader straight up like flies a ship at the Emperor and is just trying to kill him, and the Emperor's just like no. like it's wild. Like it makes sense. Like this is what Sith do. Is how they test their power.
Yeah, this is like the infighting that we're definitely doesn't relate to our. There's no parallels to our current day in any of this, as we see the Sith infighting and the dark side sort of tear each other apart. But like Grand Vizier Masameda, the Emperor, Vader, this is like a triple prong. Like everyone is basically has barbs out for Vader essentially, and it's cool. Yeah. Like it's really fun to read. I was like, this is great because it's like this is the infighting. This is what you want to see because people aren't going to be down with Vader. Vader basically is all about Vader. He's learning to be selfish almost, or Greg Pak is almost taking him in like I guess Vader's starting to like self-actualize and understand his power a little bit. Is that what's sort of happening here?
As I read, is he starting to become a Sith master?
Right, yeah.
Not just like like he is like this is what like if we got to the point where he did kill the Emperor and took over, this is Darth Vader that we would get to, right? Like he's learned the secret of harnessing hate for power, right? And being ruthless to a point that is not just petty. The other thing I was going to say about the Emperor, which is just ruthlessness personified. Sorry, late in the night. As I read it, he basically just destroyed a few blocks of Coruscant in order to shut down the droid uprising. Like, right? Like he just trained the lasers on everything around the Imperial Palace.
Order 23.
Right? Like, that's what I was reading that as.
Yeah.
Wild. Again, not surprising, but just like.
Well, didn't Leia just set up a strike mission on like the Imperial Palace like days before?
Yeah, she did that as well, and so he's just like, well, F you anyways. Yeah, I've been waiting for this battle for a long time, and they just, their relationship ebbs and flows, but it's pretty exciting to see a Sith apprentice gearing up to take down a Sith master. I'm just like pretty excited about that, but he's still overmatched, man. So I was doing a little bit of research there. Sorry, I sort of fell out of that conversation for a second. That droid is not named, but it is a Jedi training droid, and that one in particular aided Jedi Master Kirak Infila. And I looked up the training droid from Force Unleashed. It's the same shape, but it has 2 eyes instead of 1. So they kind of iterated it a little bit.
Interesting.
But I mean, the homage is definitely there.
Cool.
So we have that.
Yeah. Then these are pretty metal issues too. Just Vader just wrecking house.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't really have too many notes on this. Just love Greg Pak's writing. I love the flashbacks. Like Greg Pak's just constant use of flashback and like weaving in like Obi-Wan, I guess recent as Obi-Wan, sort of Anakin, Obi-Wan, story moments, using all that stuff. Really, really great stuff.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the Schism Imperial.
Yeah.
Later at a later date.
Right. That's the most recent one, or maybe
that was the last panel.
It's teased. It's the last panel that is then examined more.
I'm into the Schism Imperial. I can't wait to see what they bring to the table. Masamane's got Sly Moore got her crew, which are the Schism Imperial. We will meet them in upcoming Vader issues. Very cool.
Yeah. I don't mind it, other than it seems very comic booky, but I'm interested.
I need one Perrin appearance with Sly Moore, where she's just taking a call from Perrin or something.
Yeah.
Come on. That is like, okay. I will say that Andor season 1 is a 9.5 out of 10. And the only reason they didn't get a perfect 10 out of 10 is because they teased and did not show us Sly Moore. That's it.
Check
That's all.
Off Sly Moore. What did you do?
The only reason why it's not a perfect 10. Yep.
You could have just seen like Sly Moore just in the distance out of focus.
That's it.
While dinner party
at the party. At the party.
Yeah, sure. I would have
just eating one of those like weird worms out of that drink or whatever. Right. That drink. That would have been great.
Built for a sort of panda reveal. Sly Moore eats the worm from the weird
slurping up the worm.
That's it. Yeah. And I'd be like 10 out of 10. Done. Perfect.
Andor is perfect.
Yeah, her eyes just staring daggers. Yeah. She's a great character, and I love her in this issue too, because she just is just kicked around by Palpatine. It is gross. She's like doubled over from this like force sickness and is
force weight.
And there was one thing,
her nose is
and
bleeding.
he's just like, look at this trash. Like, I forget what he said to her, but was just like so demeaning in the time, and she just sort of like limps off during the battle, like between the two of them, and then ultimately at the end you see she has an agenda, which was cool. But
more like sigh no more. Am I right?
Good one.
Sorry.
Sly no more.
I'll let myself out.
He says something like I can end the pain for you right now if you'd like, or something like that. And like it's so clear that means she's like, no, I'm good.
Oh yeah, that was the first thing he did. Yeah, with like creepy over the shoulder, I can end your life right now if that'll make you happier. And then, but there was another one like mid battle where she's just like lurching around between the two of them, and he's just like, you're not as pathetic as this, and it was like, ugh. But good times with Sly Moore. I'm looking forward to more of her.
Rough stuff. Agreed. Bounty Hunters?
Baby. Bounty Hunters.
I'm kicking myself for not reading that last Bounty Hunters issue. I'm probably gonna read that tonight.
It just came out this Wednesday. Like it just came out this week, so we will maybe in a week or two.
It's the arena on Tatooine or something. Is that what it's called?
Something like that.
So
it's called the Secret Weapon.
Oh, okay.
But on the cover it's Deathmatch on Tatooine.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
that sounds very Bounty Hunters to me.
Very monster truck.
Oh, how I'll miss you.
Sunday. Get your Bounty Hunters.
So I guess if it's ending, they do need to really tie up Bylert Valence's story because he's the main character of Bounty Hunters because reasons. And
you would think they would have to do that.
So they're attempting it. And it's like once again, like we're almost rid of Bylert Valance, and then no, he's pulled back from the brink and kept alive.
We are teased with the fact that they're going to hunt down and kill him because he is a merciless killing machine at this point.
She even had him in the crosshairs, and I was just like,
and just can't do it.
Can't do it. It's like, why can't you do it? I would have done it.
Why can't you do it? This character does not show up in anything post this. There's no reason you can do this. This does not affect canon at all. Like you can kill him.
It's fine. Doesn't harm anything. He has grown on me a lot.
What page count per character though? In Star Wars comic history, is Valance high up there?
High.
Has he been in a lot of comics since
in the old EU
days and everything?
Even the new EU, just with this run alone, he's in there as much as Afra.
He's so much.
I think Afra, he's almost like a sanctified comics character of just the comics medium almost. Sort of he's romanticized for that reason specifically. Therefore, we shall probably have endless comics.
It's never gonna happen. But Grant, that's interesting. I need to go back to a comment that Ben said before that, which was, I'm sorry, you said he's growing on you?
Well, a little. Listen, I gotta throw some flowers.
I like Val. You guys have been on the.
Oh, good. And I hate him.
And the reason why I'm on the fence is because of what Grant had said, where he's sort of the opposite number for Vader. And I mean, he doesn't have the Force or anything, but there are a lot of similarities, and he is kind of a tragic figure. And I don't know. When I think of him through that lens, then I'm like, all right, this makes it. This is an interesting character. They've done some things, but. The thing is he just gets kicked around all the time. And it's like, he never really gets a redemption. I think his wife's already dead. He's got like nothing to live for, and they can't make me believe that he does. And, and it's like his life is one tragedy over the other. He's got this like Kyotian, like, that's not the right word, but, Don Quixote-esque like mission to save Han Solo for some reason. And it's like, because Han Solo saved his life one time. I don't know. Or like helped him out one time.
That's a pretty good nitpick. I do think that's pretty good prosecution of maybe why the character isn't an iconic sort of like Star Wars character at the center of the story for a lot of us.
He just takes L's, dude. Like even in the Squadron series, the TIE Fighter series with Han Solo, like he just took L's there too.
Yeah, it's like his origin basically.
He's like an anti-hero Vader, really, in a lot of ways. Where he's like does bounty missions, he gets into the odd scrum with people, but at the same time, he has a good moral compass, and he'll do the right thing, but he also showcases that sort of like hybrid, man and machine sort of dynamic, and sort of explores that when Vader, is dealing in mysticism and, familiar relationships and, Shakespearean drama and things like that, where Vader's not always in the cyborg sort of realm and sort of talking about that stuff. But Valance is. He's like I live here. But then when they started working on the Mourner's Whale and like his backstory, I thought that was cool. I was like, okay, this is cool. Like he comes from was it the Unbroken Clan or Mourner's Whale? I don't know where he comes from. But
Mourner's Whale with the
that was cool.
Yeah,
and that was cool because it was like showcasing maybe some old, sort of faction he used to run with, and then obviously the TIE pilot program and all that. Like when he joined the Empire, I was like, this is maybe you either choose do the faction stuff or do the Empire story and sort of make everything hinge off one of those. But it feels like what you're saying, Ben. It feels like both are kind of muddy and there's no real place to land with his story.
Could I counterpoint? Sure. So a character that spends 90% of his time hating himself, telling us why we should hate him, and not, in my opinion, demonstrating enough why we should like him, makes me not like him very much. You have convinced me, Valance. I don't like you. I agree with everything you're saying because you have not, in action, proved counter to what you're telling me in however many issues. Because the thing I noticed about Bounty Hunters, and I love Sachs. Sachs is a great writer. He does wonderful stuff. Like the Tales the Galaxy's Edge was really wonderful. And I like Bounty Hunters. I just don't like this character. Let me make that clear. Because one thing I noticed is in the second half of this series, when it moved away from just being Valance, and they started building out the team, and it's all the team stuff, I'm like, I am here for this. I'm really enjoying this. I like all the stuff. And then the Valance stuff, a character that is so depressive and so hates himself, and it's just so in like. Anyway, it's hard for me to get excited.
It's a tough guy to like.
That's just my
I get
argument.
it. You needed like a narrator for the audience as you sort of, meet all of these bounty hunters, these like key bounty hunters. And it's just like, okay, so it's Valance, but yeah. And I guess you need a guy that can never die because they're always in the crossfire. It's like, it may be his end. He may, I don't know, either way he's going to go, but he made it till the end of Bounty Hunters. So it just means this whole time I'm just like, well, I could have used some more Bosk. Or I could have used some more Boba Fett. Or, I could use more IG-88 or I don't know, all that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I did the rest of these characters, they introduced a lot of new characters as well. I mean, Tashu Leech and Tianga and Losha. Actually, I really, by the time I saw Losha, get back together, I was like, oh, okay. This is like, I love that she got buff all of a sudden. Buff, like swole Losha.
Yep. Yeah.
Because she's just like, whatever.
Totally.
And she got, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of great.
I feel like this is the series I'm looking forward to. Weirdly, I'm looking forward to the most of rereading in order, because I think I will appreciate it more because they did like per capita of all of these comics. Second, I mean, like really close in front of Dr. Aphra, create a whole new cast of characters. You create a whole new like area of the universe, which I appreciate, of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And
gave us Forlom and Zuckuss moments.
Right.
I mean, that's the other thing I'll say is I will always be grateful for so much Forlom and Zuckuss. My two favorite.
I thought Sachs did great. I thought he gave us more Forlom and Zuckuss than I thought we would get.
Yeah.
I was very happy with him.
And did not disappoint in terms of like they made them. They're such weirdos, and I love how weird they are, and they didn't back away from how weird they are. Yeah.
There was like one line that I love so much where I think it's when we have mindless Valance, and he kills the Claudite there, Catan, what's his name? Katak.
Oh, yeah.
And he's beating up Zuckuss, and Zuckuss just goes, "Stop hitting Zuckuss."
Stop hitting Zuckuss. Yeah.
He talks about.
I do love that vicious like killing of the Claudite.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh well, it's a shapeshifter. Maybe he's fine. Maybe he's shifted it. No, he's dead. He's very very dead, or it's very very dead. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, good times there. I love me some Dirge too.
Lots of Dirge.
Lots of Dirge is great. I love that he got tied in here too. I mean, I guess you could make any character a bounty hunter under the right circumstances, and he'd be doing that. Dirge has got to eat too. I guess.
Maybe. I don't know.
I have to ask you both. How do you feel about new Vukora?
I've always liked Wokora.
Oh,
but
did you?
Didn't Adam not like Wokora because it reminded him of like
do you know
Batman
why?
or
Do you remember
Wolverine or
why?
something?
Yes, because of the outfit. You know what's great? The outfit's gone.
Yeah.
The outfit's gone.
Yeah.
So now I can actually pay attention to his character. It doesn't feel like comic
Now
character.
she just has a weird mullet instead of that helmet.
She has a weird mullet. It's odd. I mean, I do like it is always fun in comic books and in media where you try to make the bad guy have to be part of the good guy team. And so I appreciate that motif and how much I like it. It's so, again, I root for her more than Valance because she at least thinks she's worth something and is like admitting that like I'm trying to make myself better. I'm trying to do better. And I love how much she's just like insistent that she's now part of the team. Like I do appreciate that. I'm just like, no, I'm here. I'm part of the team. You'll love me. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine. Yeah.
I know. I love actually the turn like that happened when she had to kill Losh's Nexu furball. And she's like, don't make me do it. And then she just turns into a puddle and then, I mean, ultimately I think her whole thing gets blown up by the New Republic or something in the last issue. I forget what happens, but you know why she's finally herself and decides she loves cats. And she has like
and names the cat Furball too, right? Isn't
probably I missed that, but that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure that's because I was just like, oh, that's
sad.
Rough.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever do that, but it's a fun note there. But I love that she has the Tuca cats and uses them in battle, and that's a fun vibe.
But that's the other thing to think about. Is just like that's a moment of the character where I'm like, oh, that's a callback. But also like, there's depth to that of her naming the Tuca cat Furball too, which is just like every time I say this character's name, every time I say my cat's name, I think about the worst thing I've ever done, which reminds me why I need to do better. Right? Like there's depth in just like that throwaway line of just naming that character or naming that cat. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, man. I think you guys hit all of my notes except for Syphax Bountiful Bounties on Kirkhead Station. I just wrote that down because I like how it flows. Syphax Bountiful Bounties, which is just like, oh, you're not a bounty hunter like broker or anything. It's right in the name. But like they get like there's an attack on his station there at Syphax Bountiful Bounties at Kirkhead Station, and he's like overrun, and then the next panel he's fine. And what I want to know from you guys, what did I miss? It doesn't matter.
Right. I think I caught the same thing where he's getting like pulled away.
Yeah, and then he's like, but he's fine.
I don't remember. I do.
He's a hybrid.
I will say, Ben,
right?
when I was reading it. Yeah, when I was reading it yesterday, because I read Bounty Hunters yesterday, I could not read all 20 today. I read 10 yesterday and 10 today. I think I read Bounty Hunters yesterday, and I read that, and I had the same thought in my head. I'm just like, I don't know, and I don't know if it happened in Dark Droids, but I don't remember. Yeah. It feels weird. It feels like there was just something.
Yeah, I think it happened in Dark Droids, and that's why I'm having trouble.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I caught that as well, but I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah,
but it did.
Maybe it was resolved in Dark Droids because I think there was a connective tissue moment with Bounty Hunters and
Swole
an attack. Yeah, Swole. Maybe attack or something.
And we apologize to our listeners. We could not cover all 29 issues.
Oh yeah, with the other two
in one episode.
That would have been zany. We would have needed like a Charlie Day board behind us and be like, and then this person went over here. Right on, man. Anything else? You know, I guess so.
Oh, Grievous. There was
Grievous, sure.
Yeah,
Grievous stuff. That was great.
Yeah. And
Django. It was wild places. Like we get more droid content in these Dark Droids period of comics than we've gotten in a long time. Like there are so many new droid characters and hybroids, especially in Bounty Hunters, that are really cool. All storylines right now, there are new droid characters popping up that are just fantastic.
Yeah,
I love that attention to droids.
Just like
Attention to Droids would be a great title for the app.
Darth Vader has his own like cadre of droids around him through this, and they're really it's like the leader of the like droid assassin guild. That weird training droid, G9, who is the ball, who I love, And then Zed is the
as main
who's been around,
sidekick.
And they're hilarious, and they just have this really cool dynamic. They kind of deep dive on all their personalities, and it's pretty fun. But yeah, you must be stoked, man. I mean, it's just waves and waves of droids, and if you take the time to study every panel, you're like, oh, what's that?
Yeah,
there's crazy stuff in there. Rad.
Yeah, but I'm loving all these runs, so glad we're covering. Glad we
so good. I'm very happy. I thought I've talked about before, so I won't rehash it. But the Dark Droids crossover went really well for a crossover as good as you can. But I'm now looking forward to, now that we're past all of this, to kind of each of them going off in their own direction and really focusing in on characters. I think so. Bounty Hunters ends with the next issue 42, and then immediately following is Sachs, the same writing crew and drawing crews, off to do Jango Fett. There's a Jango Fett series coming.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. So this, you can see, is kind of leading up to it, because we got some Jango Fett crossover.
There was Jango Fett in these issues too.
100%. And just reading that, I'm looking forward to his take on Jango. That's a character, give me more. Such a great character to explore.
Yeah, that'll be super fun.
Yeah, ultimate bounty hunter, right? That's
he's a different take on the on the bounty hunter, and he's
almost like classic bounty hunter in that he is just taking the bounties and doing the work and not getting lost on side missions. Endless side missions. But again, I guess I'm excited to see what Django's adventures entail, because he was all business. So guessing there probably won't be ensembles. It will probably be, a darker, grittier. Maybe that's the place where you explore the tone of a sort of a darker, gritty bounty hunter. Yeah.
And it makes more sense. I mean, I think our biggest complaint about Bounty Hunters is that the title of the series, Bounty Hunters, and it spent so much time only on one character. But this series is called Jango Fett, right? So if we get 10 issues of just Jango Fett being Jango Fett, pulling in some random people, but it's mostly focused on him, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's.
I wonder what time period they'll go with, because there's a lot of interesting Jango Fett time periods to play with there. You could get him sort of with the Mandalorians. Where does he get his armor? You could get him, leading up to meeting the Kaminoans, and have that sort of be his apotheosis or his white whale or whatever. And then, or you could have him just, maxing and relaxing on Kamino, I would love to do. And then, doing a couple, side missions for extra scratch or whatever, with a kid, raising a kid. That would be fun. Django as well.
Yeah, I hope we get a little bit of everything, right? Maybe some flashbacks, maybe some, whatever. But that's a character there's a lot to explore. Very little has been explored in new EU.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. All I know is he was employed by a man named Tyrannus on the moons of Bogdan or whatever.
Well done.
It used to happen.
Yep. I'm just a simple man making my way through the galaxy.
So good.
So good. Yeah, peak Tamora as well.
Tamora Mars.
Right on, man. Anything else going on in you guys' lives? We're gonna. I felt like we whipped through those. It was. Oh no, we didn't exactly whip.
No,
check the clock.
Yeah. What?
I think the clock would disagree, but I think we got through them as fast as we possibly could.
I just had such a good time reading them and discussing them with y'all.
We could bury it now, but you shared with us that we're not crazy about Bothans not getting their due.
Oh right.
Yeah. I thought it was crazy, and I randomly found it. Some people. All right. So yeah, I don't know if you people are Reddit people or if you think less of me because I am, but if you want to read a troll-free Reddit sub, read Star Wars Cantina. It's fantastic. There are none trolls. There's no bad vibes. I don't know if the moderators are just good or they have to be or whatever it is, but there's no trolls in there. And that's the only Star Wars, they just people having real Star Wars conversations. But one of them was, someone mentioned, how come we don't see Bothans? And I was like, ding, 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 alarms went off. We've talked about that 100 times. And sure enough, someone pulled a quote from the guy, and it was absolutely intentional. They just don't know how exactly they want to present them because we've never truly seen them. I think we've seen them in Expanded Universe, and I think Old
EU,
old
I think.
EU, but not Disney canon. And I think they may want to do it in live action, so that's why they're sort of on the fence. They don't want to draw something that they can't make.
Yeah, and dog people are hard to like. I love the way Boffins look in old EU, but I can see them being like, "Is this really what we want to go with?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
sure they're not duck
your
people?
master strategist is like a dog, a bipedal dog.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but to me, I see it. I feel like it's full VFX, though.
Yeah.
I don't think you get away with
Yeah,
puppetry
it works for me.
for that.
yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
You could. I mean, there could be shots that I think are practical, but for me, I'm just like the way that they look in my head. It's a VFX all the way, and it's like Zeb.
Exactly.
I think Zeb might be a tester for sort of things that are to come, like your Bothans and whatnot.
I was about to say the same
Bothans,
thing. Yeah.
I think, are full VFX, and I think they're like George Smiley, the species. Basically, they're like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, sort of military strategists, but like all of them are incredibly cunning. And and you almost have them. I would love maybe some espionage or I don't know, stealth infiltration scenes with Bothans or something. Like Luthen meets a Bothan. I don't know, like the character that meets
I could totally see it in
should be a super spy already. Like it should be in that demographic. Like you're like only your Luthens or your I don't know. Vels, like I can't are going to meet a Bothan. Like it's hard for me to think that any other characters are going to come across Bothans, because Bothans run like Bothan space, and in Legends they have their own basically like sector of the galaxy that they control, and basically traffic all the information in that sector, block information from going in. Like it's a very cool thing to explore, but it's also a sort of I don't know. It's just a sort of culture that's apart from the galaxy. It's not so much part of the collective there. So that's so when you introduce that's almost like introducing the Ricotta or introducing a certain species that doesn't gel with everyone else, and they have to have all that history then built in of why they don't gel with everyone else, and that's going to be tough to like really figure that out.
And the more time that goes on, the tougher it is to be like, well, then why weren't the Bothans here, and why weren't the Bothans here?
Why aren't they represented in the Senate, or like maybe they were, maybe they were like maybe they saw flaws in the Republic, or whatever. However you want to start doing the Bothans and why they have their own, area of expertise, or you don't have to do any of the legend stuff. Honestly, you could just scrap all of that, and they could just be a new character that's happens to be a spy master, and that's just one of the many Bothans. And
that is probably why they're just stuck, because it's stuck in between both of those things, and they can't quite.
To me, Andor season 2 or Andor season 3 would be like the coolest way.
I was gonna say it seems like a natural addition to Andor season 2. Yeah, it just seems like it makes sense. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, but they talked a lot about the fact they addressed the idea that there's not enough aliens or non-humans in Andor season 1, and that more are coming for season 2. And part of me is like wondering, was that just like a slight like,
don't worry, it's happening.
Bothans are coming.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've made a public plea several times to Mr. Gilroy to please give us some Bothans in Andor 2.
Yeah,
but
they're like the spy craft culture.
Yes.
So like, I just don't. I don't know. It's just right
Where
there.
else can see like
it's a low hanging fruit, but it's a delicious fruit. It's like things I've mentioned on the podcast before.
Yeah, it hangs low because it's ripe and ready
to be eaten. Yeah.
If I see like it would be so easy to see like a Bothan senator in like those opulent daylight rooms with Mon Mothma talking policy, and then in a later scene in the seedy underground of Coruscant wearing a cloak talking to Luthen Rael. Like that would be amazing.
That's incredible.
Totally.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, love it.
Or flipping through a laser field in some stealth mission, or like in a sort of briefing scene. Like you can see them. I can just see them in certain space, and even just walking around. A sort of cabin space in a ship or something like. They're just I can see it. It is full VFX. I don't know how practical it would work.
Yeah, it would have to be that. But they could do it. Rad. Well, I think we did it for this week, guys. This was super fun. Next week is going to be a surprise for all of us, what we'll talk about. And it'll be great, but we'll be talking about Star Wars. Hopefully we'll get some more news and doing all of that. But yeah, drink up. And we'll talk to you next week at the bar on
Cantina Chronicles.